Hey, what's up, fantasy fans? This is Mitchell with FF Real Talk, and this is going to be the final rankings video, and it's going to be on tight ends. It's going to go the same way as the last few videos I did, where I talk about the top 5 only, but in the description is going to be the rest of the list. And in terms of tight ends, I only rank the top 20 of them. And with the tight end position, I personally never recommend drafting early, because after about the top 2, they're all top 2 or 3, they're all roughly the same in terms of their points consistency or how they usually turn out in terms of scoring throughout the year. They're all about the same, so it's nothing that I get too excited about. But either way, you know, they're a valuable position because they're here, and they're they're obviously more valuable than a kicker or a defense. So, you know, so that's obviously I have to rank them. But obviously the number 1 is going to be the general consensus number 1, which is Rob Gronkowski. Everything that's good about him, you already know. I don't have to say it. You know his size, his ability, the way he enforces everything. If the defenses are scared of him, and the offenses the offense he plays with loves him. But the caveat to this is this Tom Brady situation that is continuously in limbo. Apparently, September 4th at the latest, we're going to know word of what this suspension is going to be, if it's going to be a suspension, whether it's going to be reduced, completely scrapped, or going to maintain the 4 games. A lot of that affects everyone on the Patriots team, including Gronk. But the thing is about a tight end, the tight end is often a safety valve for backup quarterbacks. So Gronk, I expect to get a lot of Garoppolo's targets if he's forced to start. And Gronk is what I call a go-get-him type player. He's going to make himself be available and go get the ball and chase it and make stuff happen in the red zone regardless of what's going on. So, and even if worst case scenario, Tom Brady is going to be out for 4 weeks, and let's say that affects the entire offense to where nobody does anything and nobody gets any fantasy points. This is, like I said, just an exaggeration, but nobody gets any fantasy points because he's not there. Consider it a 4-week suspension then. Still, 4 weeks of no Gronk production is still going to be better than probably every other tight end in the end when it's all said and done. So for the fact that Gronk may not get optimum results because Brady isn't there up to 4 weeks, it still doesn't change the fact that he's going to run the table points-wise over everyone out there, because he's in a system that he's been in it for years, and they use him without fail. So no question, Gronk is the number 1 tight end to own. He's too high for my taste, and I won't own him. But if you don't mind taking a reach in the early second and late second round for a player, well, mid to second round for a player, go ahead. You know, it's not going to be me, but go ahead. The second tight end is usually it's like neck and neck, a balanced scale of the number 1 between Gronk and Jimmy Graham, and obviously the number 2 is Jimmy Graham this year. And he's number 2 because he's in a different system, and we know nothing about how he's going to operate in this system. You know, he's been with the Saints for years, and he had an elite quarterback delivering him the ball without fail. He's now in a system on a great team, but he's now become the best target Russell Wilson's ever had. But Russell Wilson is still developing who he is as a passer, in my opinion. And I think Jimmy Graham is going to be learning alongside this situation, not only being on a new team, but learning Russell. And he's going to be used a little differently. It's not going to be the same as it was there. But I think his end zone targets are going to be huge, because now they just can't key in on Marshawn Lynch. They have another thing to think about in the red zone. So I think it makes for a juicy situation for points, but I don't think it's going to be Jimmy Graham of his best years in New Orleans type points. So, but either way, with the talent that he has and his ability, there is no way that you don't, take him as the second tight end without question. So that's easy for me. So on to the third one, Greg Olsen. He's in a situation that's going to either be fantastic or horrible. With Kelvin Benjamin going down, it really, really took the value from a whole lot of the parts of the Carolina Panthers. It basically sunk Cam Newton's value. It made Jonathan Stewart, more attention is going to be paid to him, and Greg Olsen's going to get a lot of attention paid to him as well. But his targets are going to absolutely increase and go through the roof because he's without question going to be the #1 passing option. And when that's the case on a team that's solid to better with a decent passer to better, which Cam is, it's going to make for some forms of magic. Plus, Greg Olsen is a stud tight end. You're going to have some weeks where it's not going to happen because they're going to be keying on him so much. But then there's going to be some weeks that are huge. So you have to ask yourself how you're going to want your points dealt. Do you want them even across the board, or do you want some huge and low of that? Because that's what I personally think is going to happen with Greg Olsen. But he's going to end the year among the top 3 to 4 tight ends. So he's definitely worth having. But I'm not going to take the mid-round or mid to later mid-round that it's going to take to get him. So again, with tight ends, I wait. So, but that's definitely still my number 3. Number 4 is going to be Martellus Bennett. Chicago is at a crossroads of a lot of different things. This is the last year that Jay Cutler has to show if he's going to be an NFL quarterback. And I don't mean, I'm talking about going to be worth anything or be believable or going to prove that he can actually keep a locker room in order and be counted on as a leader. And one of those people that had brought that to the attention was Martellus Bennett. And maybe that's going to make for a better camaraderie between the two. Maybe it's going to make for worse. I don't know. But his talent and his way of being able to find the ball and make things happen is second to very few. And the one thing you have to factor in is he has some consistency problems where he'll have 2 straight good weeks, then 3 bad ones, then 3 good ones, or whatever. So you have to take the good with the bad when it comes to him. But with Brandon Marshall gone, and Alshon Jeffrey being the main receiver there, Martellus Bennett's value goes up. And you have to account for the fact that all of the pieces in the skill player positions, they're all catchers for the Bears, including Matt Forte. So that opens things up, and Martellus Bennett will be a beneficiary of that. So I think he's going to have a decent year, and like I say, this is relative to tight ends. I think he's going to have a real solid year. So on to the last one, my number 5 is old reliable, Jason Witten. It's a lot expected of the Cowboys this year, a whole lot. With Dez's big contract, with Tony Romo finally having the time with this great offensive line that they have, and finally the jokes are starting to subside with Tony Romo. It's starting to take the team and the quarterback and the situation more seriously. But even at its worst, Jason Witten has always been reliable. The one thing is he's beyond old in terms of football years. He's been doing this a very long time. So when does he hit the wall to where he no longer produces? So far, he hasn't shown that. He's still at the top of top of the line in terms of the tight end position, and I honestly don't expect it to be any different. He's just such a force and such a body presence out there and such a key to the offense that he's going to be that until he retires. And I didn't see any slowing down last year, and I think it's going to be more of the same of what you expect from him this year. So don't expect a whole bunch of every week goodness with him, because that just doesn't happen with any tight end. But with Jason Witten, you have the consistently and one of those generational talent, best in the business, like a Tony Gonzalez or whatever. So definitely, again, I own him on one team that I have. I got him at a discount because I guess some people were sleeping. But again, most of the better tight ends I'm not going to own, but you can't go wrong with Jason Witten. So, yeah, that's my top 5 in terms of tight ends. So I was able to cover all of the positions. And, again, I'm going to have the entire list in the description so you'll be able to, look at it and reference it when you're doing your draft. So that's it with the rankings. And if you got any questions, follow me on Twitter. Subscribe here, ask questions. If you want to, you can here. I much prefer it on Twitter because I have my phone with me all the time, and I'm able to answer it quicker that way. So, but feel free to stay in touch regardless, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good one.